with TJ, and we're going to go over the new...
Something new and special, the new Pro V. TJPROV, yeah.
So what made you decide to make a new high-performance board?
Look, the TJPRO, we've had it for like 13 years now. I've always wanted that sort of performance, but for waves that aren't as good. Like the TJPRO excels when you get it sort of that shoulder high and above range. I wanted something that excelled in like the 2 to 6 foot range. So I hit up Dan and was like, hey, let's make something fast and loose and different, but start with that TJPRO DNA and kind of take it back from there and just free it up and make it more fun and crappier waves. Yeah. That's kind of where we ended up.
When you were going through the process, what were some of the things that you wanted to make sure this board does?
I really wanted to make sure that it was loose and fast and that it didn't compromise any performance going into kind of, you know, average surf. I wanted to make sure that you could still do everything you wanted to do, but that you weren't like, you know, ending up with a really flat board that didn't turn or something like that. I wanted to make sure we kept the performance in it, but also that it was still fast and loose and responsive. So that was the challenge. And I mean, Dan's pretty good at making boards like that. He knows what he's doing. So he just kind of put his input into it. And we went through, I think, 5 or 6 different boards over the course of a few years until we landed on one that was like, wow, this is it. This is magic. And yeah.
So when you get on the, after you're doing all the testing on a PU, and then you come to a Thunderbolt, what's the biggest difference that you feel from those 2 different types of construction?
Oh, it's definitely the flex. The Thunderbolt flex is super unique to Thunderbolt construction. Yeah. That torsional flex that you can feel and the spring that you get out of the boards, particularly with the reds. I notice it straight away. It's something that I'm kind of prepared with that transition. I know it's coming, and yeah, you know straight away when you get that flex right and you spring in and out of turns, you can feel it immediately.
So you get a good rhythm down the line, huh?
Absolutely, like especially in smaller waves where you're kind of more connecting the dots and generating your own speed. You can feel that flex, spring, and release, and you're actually generating speed off the bottom and off the top as you're going down the line. So it makes a big difference.
Yeah. So the guys that are lighter, like in the 150-pound range, you know, have you ever talked to any guys that have ridden this particular board in that weight class?
Nobody's ridden it yet. I mean, my wife's somewhere around there, and she loves it. She actually took my first one and won't give it back. So I'm kind of stuck. I was like, hey, wait. So I got another one, but yeah, like she was hooked. She loves the red. She just loves that flex. That torsional flex is magic.
So the biggest key difference on the bottom contours of this board to your original Pro board.
Yep.
What are the biggest difference?
So this one has more of a single the whole way through, with the double concave built inside of that single in the back and the spiral V out the tail. So that spiral V really loosens things up and just makes it super lively underfoot. Like I wanted something that felt really loose because in crappy waves, a stiff board like a rounded pin and stuff doesn't feel that great. Wants to draw out like a longer line. Whereas the squash tail with that spiral V, it just snaps and whips, and I'm doing turns like way tighter in the pocket than I would be, and just getting so much more response out of it on it.
So you don't need to step on the tail as much then?
Not as much, no. Like you can kind of just use that spring, and with that squash tail, the pivot points are a lot sharper, so you can just get that pivot going and just kind of pivot and tic-tac through sections that normally you kind of catch or, you know, be struggling to maneuver along, and this thing just kind of pivots in them and fits better.
So for your wife, what fins is she using?
So she likes a 2+1 setup. She goes to the 4.25 inch flying diamond sides, the edge sides, which is my large edge side, and then she goes to 7-inch center, the signature center, which is basically the same thing that she'll ride in the TJPRO. So there's not a whole lot of difference there.
Has she ridden it as a quad?
She does. She liked the speed as a quad. For her, she likes the stability of the 2+1, especially with nose riding and stuff like that. So she kind of preferred that 2+1. I go back and forth. I really like the quad when I want to play around. Like it's super loose, so you can whip things and do little fin slides and stuff on chops. Like super fun to play with. And then I'll step back when I want that stability and that sort of I know what it's going to do. I'll throw that 2+1 in just because I'm so familiar with that setup that I know how it'll respond. But the more I'm riding the quad, the more I'm liking it and getting used to it. And yeah, it's insanely fast as a quad. It's like crazy how quick it goes.
So what kind of surf have you taken it out to?
I've ridden it in pretty much everything. Like I had it in Australia for a year, for the last 6 months that we were there, and we got everything from like 8 to 10 foot down to ankle high stuff. I found that once you get to a certain size, bigger surf, it starts to wash out, which it's not built for really big waves, like 8 foot plus. It likes that sort of 2 to 6 foot range is like its maximum.
Are we talking
That's
about
what it
faces?
loves. Yeah, we're talking California talk. Yeah, 2 to 6 foot. So yeah, it just feels really good in that. And then sort of that 8 foot range is where I start to feel a wash. I'm a bigger guy, so I probably feel it earlier than most people, but I hop on the TJPRO when it gets that big anyway. So it's kind of picks up where that TJPRO, it's built for good waves. So this thing just kind of picks up that sort of average surf stuff where you want to generate your own speed and makes it easy.
Yeah. Right on. So yeah, the reason I was referring to your wife too at the same time is because there's a lot of guys that are lighter too. So.
Yeah, for sure. No. I get most people are lighter than me. I mean, I'm a big dude, right?
You're what, 6?
I'm 6'4" and like 220. So yeah, I'm a big guy. So definitely, I use my wife. My wife's my main test pilot in that lower weight class, and yeah, she loves it. So
and she's a pro too.
Yeah, she's a pro, so she knows what she's talking about and gives me the good feedback. And she's like, yeah, it feels great for me. A pivot machine, like it's small average waves, like Queen's last few days has been really fun for this thing, just because it's kind of that softer face and you can just fly around and generate your own speed, not have to worry about the waves doing it for you.
So to sum it up, it's a performance nose rider and junk surf.
Yeah, 2 to 6 foot waves, like what most days are. It's like that sort of that happy range for average surf, and just makes, I don't know, there's so many options. Like it's kind of like a Swiss Army knife is what I've been saying to people. It's like a Swiss Army knife of a longboard. You can do quads, you can do 2+1s, you can like nose ride, you can tail surf it, whatever you want to do. It's kind of got you covered. And especially like with average everyday conditions, switch up the fins. It changes the board immediately. So you can constantly switch back and forth and play around. It just keeps surfing fun for me. In
Right on.
Epic. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool.